on today's Not So Critical Update, Mike forced us to talk about a story to do with WordPress supply chain attacks. Here we go.
WordPress supply chain attacks, fancy term for corrupt plugins and extensions, themes. And I guess I brought this up not because it's any shocker that theme or
because it's not. It is not a shocker. No,
it's not a shocker. But, well, two reasons. One is I have done web development for a long time. And a lot of times if somebody says, hey, I want to start a website, I tell them use WordPress. And very often they'll say, well, I'm worried about WordPress security. So I'll share my answer, but what's your response to that? Like if somebody said, hey, I want to do a site, I'm thinking about WordPress, should I do that or not?
I mean, I would recommend WordPress as well, but I would immediately follow it by be really careful which plugins you install.
Yeah.
It's just an easy way to get up and running.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, WordPress, it's kind of hard to recommend WordPress at this point because it's like it's a good analogy. I guess it's the Facebook.
The PHP.
Yeah, it's the PHP. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's the it's the Flash game of like site development. Yeah.
Okay.
So can I just
competitors? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Sorry, because there's something I've got to mention. So I was speaking about. I have this urge right now to just explain about how WordPress is a blog platform and that you can add open source plugins into it, and they are commonly full of security holes and terrible. But I'm not going to do that because I was chatting to my dad earlier, and he admonished me for patronizing him.
When?
And he's like, yeah, you're always explaining this stuff for that, and some of them I already know about it. Like, like all right, Dad, so fine.
Yeah,
no exposition.
To whoever's dad out there needs to hear it.
Yeah.
Not Peter's dad.
Not Peter's
Not
dad.
my dad.
Not
Anyway,
Peter's
carry on,
father.
John.
Asking for his dad.
For asking for
Well, you cut me off. I lost my train of thought, and I'm not going to explain it now because I don't remember.
Well, we'll come. I remember you were talking about how WordPress is the PHP of websites.
I'm sorry,
right?
John.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
With,
right.
with
Flash
respect
game.
to security,
Go ahead.
the main question people say, the main reason people tell me they don't want WordPress is because they're worried about security. And I argue that because it's open source, it's more secure because it's a mature product. It's had lots of developers contributing to it. It's been well vetted. The glaring exception, as you say, Peter, yes, is the extensions. To John's point, it's aged, certainly. It is not a modern engine, but what replaces it?
Yeah.
There's a few things that replace it. Wix comes to mind. That is kind of, I guess, a more mature website builder. There's another one. What is it called?
There's like Squarespace is one.
Yeah, Webflow.
Webflow is one.
Oh, Webflow. It is the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess anything where user content isn't, where the engine does not use its users as the main producer of content, like plugins. I think that's the most important thing, because like when you have a tool in Kali Linux, the Linux operating system that enables you to basically be a penetration tester, it comes like with 1,300 plus tools ready to go. If it allows you to download that and instantly have tools to attack WordPress specifically, I think there's a problem. Maybe that's on WordPress's age, but also like, one missed critical update. Like WordPress announces itself. It's not hard to figure out that you're on a WordPress.
Even sometimes a not so critical update can have a real effect.
Let's go. That was nice.
Thank you.
But I guess the point is, if you're running WordPress and you want it to be as free as possible, or as cheap as possible. You can host a WordPress instance on a cheap VPS for, honestly, some even would be free, like a free tier on Google Cloud or something.
Yeah.
And you forget to update that instance to the newest version of WordPress, and now you're running some vulnerable box with potentially vulnerable customer data, credit cards, whatever it is you're hosting.
And this is going to be nonprofits. This is going to be local community organizations who need a website, don't have a huge budget for it, want the functionality, but don't understand the security concerns and implications. So they throw something like this up. All of a sudden, their member data, their community data is up online and vulnerable. For sure.
Exactly.
Couple of interesting stats, although I just found out in the background. So this is from an article published this year in January 2022. Around 62% of all CMS-built websites on the internet are WordPress, and 39.5% of the entire web is running WordPress. Hundreds of millions of sites are running WordPress. So I think it's not something.
Is 87% of it isn't fully updated.
Well, probably.
Even if it was 1%, if we're talking about 40% of the web, front-facing is WordPress. Now, a lot of these are just going to be what I said. It's just initial landing page, front-facing. They get passed on to the app, and it's not even on WordPress anymore. So,
and most of them also aren't going to have user data beyond just the probably default admin account that's set up.
Yeah,
probably not, but that's the problem. They always start off with something simple, and then they get successful, and then they bolt on more add-ons, and then they bolt on an e-commerce thing, and then they have the mailing list integrated, and then it's like full-on PII nightmare that And then the more complicated it gets, the more expensive it is to transition to any kind of custom-built platform or anything else. So you add more add-ons, and then the site falls apart. It's just a horrible nightmare.
So
here's the thing,
my.
Sorry,
go ahead, Peter.
I wanted to say this from the beginning. When I introed this, I said that you forced us to talk about this, because when I saw this article, I was just like, oh my God. 15 years ago.
Like how I feel when we talk about privacy articles.
What? This is what
another breach.
About.
Here we go again. Shocking.
Breach articles, yeah, fair enough. But privacy articles, come on, Mike. This is what we're supposed to be doing, isn't it? Maybe we need to have a chat after this. Seriously, like,
what is this show about again?
I don't know anymore. But like, so 15 years ago,
tell us what you think the show is about. We'll do that next week.
We're gonna be called the not
Bodie McBoatface
podcast.
No, the critical face. I don't know.
Yeah.
Critty McCrit face.
Podcast.
Poddy.
So
that's what
I'm trying to tell a story, guys. I'm trying to tell a very interesting story here.
My bros.
Can you imagine if we had a floating mic and he had like 2 eyes and a smiley face? Yeah, hey guys, it's just
hey guys,
you guys need some help.
Hey,
yeah,
and
you're like,
I see you.
Hey, like, Poddy, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I see you trying to make a podcast.
Exactly.
Like, you want some help with that? You want some help? WordPress. I had a WordPress. It's a bunch of shit. Let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
Buddy, we told you. Fuck off.
Out of the podcast.
Get out of the... God damn, Putty.
Right. Who wants to take this seriously?
Yeah.
Just that...
go ahead. I have one thing I want to say about advice moving forward, but you've been trying to get yours in twice now, Peter.
Yeah, all right, let's hear the story 15 years ago.
Okay, all right, fine. You sure you want to hear it? Yeah, I want to hear it, guys. Why are you trying to tell a story? Pete, you carry on. Thanks, Putty. At least someone wants to listen to me. Right. 15 years ago, I was working at a company and they had WordPress set up. Typical situation, and they had a whole bunch of... This is how I first got started in security, I did an audit of the plugins that they had installed. They had about 60, and in like a few days, we had to get rid of most of them because they were just full of security holes. And I was really conscientious at the time, and I tried to contact all the authors and fix them, and update the code myself and submit
ignorant.
patches and everything. 95% of the people didn't get back to me. The one or two that actually did, didn't actually patch their things or didn't fix them properly.
No.
Nothing has changed in 15 years. It's exactly the same situation.
Yeah.
WordPress
They're making
is
money.
essentially...
They don't need that.
Yeah. So that
here's
was my point.
Advice for people, when people would come to me for websites, this is my general advice.
Shut up, Mike!
Yeah. Ooh, my
One is... I will forge ahead. Can I mute you? What do I do? So the first thing is, what do you need the website for? The platforms that John mentioned, Webflow, Wix, Squarespace, those are great tools for designers. In my experience, not spectacular for content producers or programmers. So you're going to not get great performance. You're going to have a site that's not super easily updatable, but you're going to be in a closed ecosystem and it's going to be relatively secure, at least to the extent that the platform as a whole is secure. Mm-hmm. WordPress is made for blogging. So if you're going to be putting up fresh content, articles, stories, you need something that content producers can easily use. WordPress is a good choice. It's an older platform, which means on one hand, it's well vetted. On the other hand, it's got an ecosystem that includes a lot of flawed plugins. Keeping it up to date and doing some research into your providers, critically important. The third option, which is going to be the smallest category, is people who really need high performance sites. They're going to be looking at something that's custom built, Next.js, a headless CMS system behind it. You're going to get blazing fast performance. The CMS could be okay, but it requires significant in-house development resources to put that together, and security is entirely on you. Yeah. So that's kind of the spectrum and what you can do to mitigate your risk and get the functionality.
Great advice, Mark. Yeah.